I hope you had a good time this week finishing up your socks. Well, we're not quite finished yet. We have our heels knit and our gussets. So all we have left to do is our finishing. And it is really easy. Don't worry. And if we do it right, we won't feel any seams. So let's get going. And the first thing we need to do is graft our toes. So I have it a little bit started here. It's right here. I hope you can see. I have both of my toes with my stitches that I held before on my needles, and I have my needles both pointing in the same direction so that I have wrong sides facing each other. And then we're going to do what is known as the Kitchener stitch. It is basically making another knit stitch in between these so that we'll have a flat piece. There won't be any seams over our toes because seams on our toes suck, right? They're not comfortable. So let's just make another knit stitch. Now the Kitchener stitch is daunting looking when you read it. There's tons of tutorials out there. I suggest you just look at them. Everybody describes it a little differently. It's all the same process. It's easy. It's using a needle on some thread. I'm using a contrasting thread or yarn to show you. And then we're just going to weave ends in when we're done. But if you just use the same yarn, you'll never see it. It'll disappear right away. There will not be a seam. So I'm going to try and show you how to do it. Bear with me. It may not make a whole lot of sense at first. Just keep trying it. And my suggestion to you is to have the instructions written out in front of you. I'm going to have them in the blog post for this week as well. Okay, we're ready to set up for our grafting. Sit somewhere quiet. Sit somewhere with your cup of coffee. And with good light. And you'll get through this. It'll work. It helps if you sing or chant at a certain point, and I'll show you that. My stitch is on backwards here. I'm just going to fix that. I had to pull my stitches out so that I could show you. Anyway, so to do this we need equal number of stitches on the needle. Remember, this is a mini sock for me, so I can demonstrate with you. I have 5 stitches on both needles, and ideally when you do this you will be using your tail that you left, nice long tail that you left when you put your stitches on the holders. You don't have to. If you want to do like I am, you don't have to use contrasting. I honestly don't suggest it unless that's a design feature you like. You'll just have ends to weave in. Not a problem. Alright, so this first part we are doing is only for setting up. You only have to do this one time. So I'm going to get my needles kind of close here, and you bear with me. I am shooting around, I'm working around my camera so that I can actually watch what I'm doing on the screen to make sure that you see everything. First thing we have to do, tapestry needle loaded with yarn, go through our first stitch on the front needle as if to purl. Very easy, right? Pull it through. Okay. Now we're going to take our yarn and we're going to go back to our back needle, and we are going to go through this back stitch here on the first stitch on our back needle as if to knit. Leave it on the needle after you pull the thread through. Eventually we're going to start pulling all these stitches off. So I find it helps if you hold the stitches or the needles pretty close to each other, and there you go. So front purl, back knit. All right. Now, next step. Okay, so we've done our setup stitches. Now we are ready to do our actual down and dirty grafting. We're going to Kitchener. It's easy, trust me. So I just want you guys to chant something to yourself, sing it. Knit, purl, purl, knit. Knit, purl, purl, knit. Knit, purl, purl, knit. Because that's what we are going to do across all these stitches. Everything we do, we're going to do to the first stitch, then the next one. So we are going to knit this one, purl this one, knit this one. So knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, knit. I sing. I put myself somewhere quiet, otherwise my husband makes funny faces at me. I get my cup of coffee, a good light, we're ready to go. So, alright, that was my setup stitches there. That's why my yarn is hanging on there. Alright, you ready? First stitch, as if to knit. Just go on right in through there. Okay, pull your yarn through. You do not have to pull it tight. I suggest just, get it snug. Slide that stitch off. Okay, now go through your second stitch as if to purl. Sorry, I'm using a pointy tapestry needle, so I'm catching threads I'm not supposed to here. Alright, easy enough. Now go through our back as if to purl. Purl. And then slip that one off as if, and then into our second one as if to knit. Leave it there. Now it is a little fussy and you're gonna go, Chris, how is this even working? I don't get it. Just keep going. Alright, remember, always slip the first stitch, go through the second stitch, go to the next needle, slip the first stitch. Alright, so remember our chant. Knit, go through it as if to knit. There we go. Slip it off. And go through as if to purl. Okay. There we go. Trust me, guys, it works. It looks ugly, but it works. Alright, back needle, purl. Oh, I caught a little bit of thread there. You see, I didn't go through my whole stitch. That's why you do not want to use a sharp tapestry needle. That's all I could find. Slip. Got it? So I just use my finger, push it right off the end. Second stitch on the back needle, knit. Okay, hopefully you might start seeing what is going on here. Can you see? Curious look, isn't that? Alright, and at the end of each knit, purl, purl, knit, you should have the same number of stitches on your needle at all times. Okay, everybody, so I didn't make you watch me graft all those stitches. All the way across, I've done the same thing. Knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, knit. Remember, always have the same number of stitches across on your needles. Do 2 stitches on each needle, slipping the first of each on each needle before you go to your second stitch. Alright, so we're at our end, and it's time to bind off to finish. So we've got 1 stitch left each. So I've gone through this one knitwise already. Pull it out. And I've gone through this one, last one, purlwise. There you go. See that? Alright, all my stitches are now taken care of. Needles are free. Let's set those back there. Alright. Not very pretty. But take our end. Ready? Just give it a gentle tug. Help it out a little here. You can pull from both ends. And helps if you do this along the way, but I've pulled it a little tight. And my stitches are, I'm using 2 different kinds of yarn, so actually mine is going to disappear, even though I used the wrong color. So, voila! No seam. Look in the back. See? No seam. Now I did pull mine super tight. That's just the way it wanted to go because this is a thinner yarn. If you're using the same yarn, you'll actually see, you can kind of see it here. See how small it pulled them? There we go, right there. So if you use the same kind of yarn, you're actually going to have a regular full row of knitting. All right, so there we are. Now we are all right, so grafted our toes. Now we've got this hole to seam up, and we want to do it so we don't feel a seam, because who wants to feel seams? And then the back of the cuff, and I'm going to show you here on our side, okay, how we're going to start this. Now if we do this right, everything should disappear and we won't get anything. Now I've got my tapestry needle loaded. Again, if you left a long enough tail, I believe actually it's on this side, but if you left a long enough tail, you can use that. Or just use another piece of your yarn and weave in ends. It's easy enough. So I'm going to start here, right in the corner of our gusset. And I'm always going to go through the back of our stitches, and then we're going to go and we're going to pick up as close to a knot, or where it makes a V, as possible. So right in here and here and here. Okay, you don't, if you want it to be super secure, do it every stitch. You don't have to. So pull your thread or your yarn. I keep calling it thread because I do the same thing when I'm sewing. Make little stuffed animals for my kids. Alright, now when you go, find the same approximate place on the other side and pull. And remember, you don't want to go here like I am here, because that will make a big, you've got all this that's going to get squashed and it's going to make a seam. So go smaller and pull it through. Okay, now if you pick a spot that's tight, it's going to be a little tough, but you'll be okay. So then go across to the other side again. Remember, always through from the back up is the easiest way to do this. Alright, you don't have to pull it snug. Okay, see here, if I go in the middle of a stitch like this, I'm going to make a hole. So go as close to a knot as you can, or as close to the V as you can. Very good. There we go. Let me just real quick whip across a few stitches here, and I'll show you that our stitches will disappear. We won't see any blue. So remember, always from the back and then up. Alright, so there we go. Now watch. I'm going to pull. Voila, they're gone. See that? Now you'll still see this one here because it's attached, but just to show you, when you look on the inside, it's really flat. There's no seam there. So this way works, and then what it does is it see how it lined up my stitches nice and even there? There you go. So it just disappears. So go all the way down. When you get to the end, tie a very simple, very small knot, and then weave in your ends. You're going to do it on the other side.